G'day.
How
Cooch.
are you,
How
bruv?
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Cheers. Day for it.
Cheers, mate. Day for it. Yeah, fully. It is a day for it.
Get the branding in there like
Get it
that.
in there, bruv. Yeah.
Got the tagline in there. Get
Yeah.
the big bucks coming into the Still Noise bank account.
Get this thing cranked up. We don't have to be filming off a ring light.
Works good. How you going?
I'm going good, bruv. This is I had a small hiatus. I haven't done a new episode in a few weeks. Due to the knee operation.
Bit of an injury.
Yeah. So
Bit of an airdrop to the flats, I heard.
yeah. It was a combination airdrop and then a tweak and then it locked and caught and caused me grief once I was putting my shoes on, believe it or not.
Gnarly.
So the boys like to hold on to the Gooch busted his knee putting his shoes on. That's what they're running with. So
I mean, yeah.
anyway,
Sounds a bit less impressive than airdropping out of the lip on let's say a 6-footer.
It's 10.
Yeah, it's probably 10 foot. Yeah, no, bummer. I hope it heals up for you quick.
I'll be right, bro.
Pain in
But
the ass.
I feel like just this week. I felt like I'm ready to get back into a nap. Just it was hard because I couldn't sit it with it bent. I couldn't really bend it for the last few weeks. But now I'm back.
Yeah,
But,
I've had a couple of those over the years. It's a fucking nightmare being out of the water. I don't know how you feel, but like, just the I guess the mental release of surfing and being in the ocean when you're on the couch, like you don't notice it as a surfer because you spend so much time in the water that as soon as you kind of like out of it, you realize how much you miss it.
It's killing me, man. I'm getting dandruff. My skin's itchy. I'm getting zips. I'm fucked.
Getting all pasty.
Oh, I'm a hideous creature at the moment. I'm just this white ghost hanging out in my cave. It's disgusting.
It's wild. It's something about it. And it's always, as I've been getting older, I've been trying to figure it out because I think we put so much focus on the act of surfing, like being on the wave and that part of surfing. But then when you break it down, like surfing has so many layers and there's so many points to it. Like even from the act of waking up in the morning and going down and looking at the ocean, or even just having that mentality that like today's a new day. I don't know what the ocean's going to entail for me today. And it's this whole new fresh surprise. And even just that, I think like we're so lucky that we have that as surfers, that like every day you have a new purpose and reason and like thing to be excited about. And it's like the condition of the ocean.
It's like a ritual, eh?
Yeah. It's a nice.
Ritual.
We're all about getting the brands integrated here.
Yeah, let's get them in there.
No, but it was kind of a realization recently. I think it was something my dad said, and I thought, wow, that's such a crazy thing that like a lot of other people wouldn't get to experience in everyday life, is like waking up and just having this unknown kind of like thing to look forward to, and every day being different. So it's not like, if you play tennis or golf or whatever, obviously you got the weather, but we've got this playing field that's just completely different every day. So it keeps it like so fresh. My dad's like late 70s now, and I just see him being just as excited about getting in the water, as he was when he was 20.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to do with that kind of like aspect of the ocean being this constantly shifting and changing thing. So you've got that, and then you've got the like exercise and body movement element of surfing, the sitting out the back, which is like a form of meditation, and then you've got the riding of the wave.
Just being immersed, I think, is like the biggest thing for me. Immersing, going under that.
Yeah, under the duck diving. Like, who thinks about how amazing duck diving is? Yeah. But it's like you're going under this like torrent of foamy water that's rushing over you, and it's like a cleansing act. So when you then the reason to bring it up, obviously, because when you're injured, then you kind of start to think about those things or pay attention to how much you miss being in the water, and how much you rely on it too.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the thing for me, when I'm away from it for a while, which I've had a few injuries, so I always like think back to this, is the immersion of going under and being weightless. So when you're injured, right, if you just swing your arms over your surfboard and let your body drop down, you're weightless. You know what I mean? So when I broke my back, for the first time ever, there's no gravity force like gravitational force on my spine at all. Same with your knee. You know, you've got all this weight from above when you're putting weight on your knee. You go in the water and it just swings weightless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's always the thing you miss, I reckon.
Yeah, it's a really insane kind of thing that we get to do, that I think there's so many elements to it that are beyond just standing up on a wave and surfing on a wave. And even like this morning, went for a surf, took my girlfriend out, and like she's just learning, but I can just see like even the like spark in her eyes, and we're just sitting out in the lineup, and you're looking back at the headland, and it's like, you know, light offshore, the water's crispy, it's clear, you can see the bottom. It's like so much going on that's just amazing to sit in that. And like, you know, regardless if you're ripping or catching heaps of waves, even just being in that environment is crazy.
Yeah, I know, man. I miss it. And I mean, not to mention the surf's been absolutely pumping since the day I hurt myself.
It's always the way.
It's like 6 weeks of just smoking.
Just, he swells non-stop. But I feel like someone has to make the sacrifice, and then the waves turn on.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll keep coming. That's the good thing. Yeah, they're always going to be there.
Next year, I'm back.
Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully the end of this year.
Yeah, you'll be back.
So, Dion Agius?
Agius, yeah.
Okay, I've always wondered that, because the G can go both ways. Agius.
A lot of people do, yeah. I've had Agnes, Agius, Agius my whole life. It's kind of a difficult one, but yeah, it's Agius.
Agius, yep. And is that...
it's Maltese.
I was going to say, is that some sort of Eastern European?
It's Maltese. So my dad, from my dad's side, dad's family, Italian Maltese. So yeah, it's a pretty common name in Malta. Like, I've met quite a few people with the last name Agius, and always from Malta.
Yeah, right. Mum from Australia?
Mum's from Australia. Yeah, from South Australia. Born and raised. Dad moved to Australia came over when he was like 6, I think, 5 or 6. Right. Yeah.
Young as.
Immigrated from Egypt, actually, of all places. Yeah, he was. His dad was working there. My great grandpa was a archaeologist in Egypt. Yeah.
Holy shit, good place to do it. There's plenty of old things you could dig up there.
Heaps old stuff to dig up. So he was doing that. So dad's family was there. And then, they moved out here when he was about 5, and he moved to South Australia. Spent most of his life in South Oz, learnt to surf in South Oz, going out to Yorks and bunch of spots out there and stuff as a kid with his mates. And then he got offered a job in Tasmania, so moved to Tassie when he was, I think, early 20s or something, back in like the 70s, and then has been there pretty much since.
Yeah, okay. And did you say already where you met your mum, or in Tassie?
They met in South Australia.
In South Australia, yep.
Yeah, and then we kind of bounced around a little bit as my sister and I got older. Where we lived and still live now in the East Coast Tassie, like, you've got to go to either Hobart or Launceston to go to high school. And so, year 11 and 12, and Dad didn't want to move the family to either of those, and also was just like, fuck, why don't we move somewhere up the coast so that you guys can still surf, because my sister surfed as well a little bit, and she was just kind of getting into it. I think as we left Tassie, I just like fully got into it. I was about 14, I think 13, and we headed up to Queensland, which I was frothing because I grew up looking at like all the mags and videos and stuff of everyone surfing on the Gold Coast, and it was just like warm water, point breaks, and so I was pretty excited. But because it's hard growing up as a kid surfing in Tassie. It was fucking freezing, wintertime.
Would be gnarly, yeah.
It's funny now looking back on it though, because I still live half the time there and half the time where I am now, which is just south of Sydney somewhere. But I go back down to Tassie, and I'm like, fuck, how was I doing that in winter as a grom? Because now I'm like,
gnarly,
don't have hair and I have to wear a hood, and like I'm freezing in winter. But like as kids we would stay out there, but it was tough, it's not like you're frothing as a grommet to just go jump in the water or whatever. It was a bit more effort. You got to put a wetsuit on and stuff, but you're definitely a bit more resilient as a kid. So yeah, going to the Gold Coast was a crazy move because all of a sudden you're in board shorts like year round, and
That's just a complete polar opposite, eh?
so different. But it is really beneficial for your surfing at that age because especially as I was getting better at surfing, because you'll paddle out in any conditions, whereas like in Tassie, even now, if I'm home and the waves are kind of 2 to 3 foot and onshore and I'm probably going to be surfing by myself, it's not really that
You're like,
exciting. Yeah, it's kind of easy to pass it up, and your wetsuit's maybe a bit damp, but up there, you know, it's like howling on shore and fucking could be raining, whatever, but like you just chuck some boardies on and paddle out and it's sweet. So
yeah,
it's definitely a few more steps.
You were on the Goldie, like actually the Goldie?
Yeah, in Currumbin. We moved to Currumbin, and then I went to school at Palm Beach, Currumbin, which is like the same school that Mick and Joel and a bunch of crew went to.
Wait, sorry, how old were you when all this was going down?
About 13 or 14.
Okay, so you did high school up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it was insane for my surfing because I just kind of got into competitions and stuff locally in Tassie, and had a bunch of friends, mates around me and guys from Hobart and stuff that were kind of my, who I was kind of like aspiring to surf like, and they had sponsors and stuff, and they were really pushing my surfing. And then when I got to the Gold Coast, you know, you like paddle out deeper and see Occy or Parko, and then I kind of grew up with the Harrington twins and the Dorringtons. We had a huge crew, like I was in Snap Rocks, board riders. So that obviously was just like such a kind of crazy environment to be in to kind of accelerate your surfing as a kid, you know, just being exposed to that many kind of high level surfers. Yeah, it was a really good spot to live for surfing, but the trade-off is it's fucking crowded and pretty hard to get waves. But that was like, you know, over 20 years ago. So even then it felt crowded, but now obviously it's
a whole new level.
A whole other ballgame. I don't know how anyone gets a wave there now.
One of the epicenters, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The surf epicenters. There's a few of them.
Certainly is.
Yeah. And so you moved up there with the family, did like all your high school, everything up there. In primary school, you did that in Tassie. But it was just hard to bounce between because you had to travel for school, right?
Yeah. So if you were going to do year 11 and 12, the school I was at didn't go up to year 11 and 12. Maybe not even 10, 11, 12. So you had to move. So
all right, that makes sense.
We kind of moved up there then. But yeah, finished out high school on the Gold Coast, and then right as I kind of finished, kind of went to that school because they had this sports excellence program, it was called. And so you could surf I think it was 3 days a week during school, which was mental. It was like first 2 periods on a Monday and Wednesday afternoon and like a Friday morning or something. So yeah, 3 of the 5 days you were getting to like surf as part of school, which was
how good.
Mental. And that was in year 11 and 12. So did that, finished that up, and then got my I can't remember what it's called up there. It's like an OP or something, like, don't know. Anyways, finished school. Yeah, basically, and then was pretty ready to pursue surfing after that. Yeah.
When did you pick up your first sponsor, or when did you start like gaining support to be to some degree of a professional surfer when you were younger?
When I was younger, I think like when I was in Tassie, and I'd only probably been surfing like I was bodyboarding for quite a few years, and then kind of got more into surfing as my older friends started surfing. And then, so I was probably around 12 or so, that 11 or 12 that I got into surfing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably only been surfing for a year or two, and then was pretty ambitious, but would go through all the old magazines and get look for ads of all the brands. And back then, like, they would just have their phone number and their fax number on there, so their landline and their fax. So I got Dad to help me print up a like resume on the of like my local board riders comps and blah blah blah, and just a little 1-page and I would just flick through all of the old surf mags, and anytime there was a fax number, I don't think I even cared who it was or what the brand was. It was just like, bang, if you've got a fax, you're copping my resume.
Yeah.
So I was just sit there faxing out these resumes over and over again, and then finally one day I got a response. Shout out to Mike Vardy. He ran Lush. It was called Lush Productions. I always remember it, and they were a distributor for a bunch of brands in Australia. And they had a brand called Ezekiel, which I don't even think is around anymore. But
they used to make shoes, right?
They made clothes.
Ezekiel. Sorry, yeah.
I don't know if they did shoes. They might have. It was like a 4 bars kind of. It's hard to explain.
Did they have was there some sort of animal in their logo, like a rhino or something like that?
Nah, but I think I know what you're talking about.
I'm on some other brand there, but I remember Ezekiel.
But it's the same.
I had a bit of their gear when I was younger.
Is the same era.
Mm.
I don't know if Echo was fucking like a rhino.
I might be thinking of Echo, but I had Ezekiel gear. I remember having Ezekiel gear.
It had a moment in surf. Conan Hayes rode for them. Trying to think who else in Australia. Oh, Jay Phillips rode for them in Australia. That was kind of one guy that I really looked up to, and especially once that I saw that I was riding for the same sponsor as him or whatever.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, you kind of, I'm sure it's the same now, but like I felt like I was a part of something, and so anyone that was on the team, I felt like, you know, they were my crew. Even though I was like this 13-year-old kid in Tasmania, and that was like Conan Hayes in Hawaii or whatever. I'd see him on a Taylor Still video and be like,
yeah, okay,
shit, yeah, that's my boy. But yeah, so Ezekiel, Mike Vardy hooked me up with a clothing pack, and he was like, yeah, no worries, Dion, we'll send you some gear. So he sent me down a pack, and it was like, I just distinctly remember this long, like it was probably a medium, and it might have even been a small, but I was so small, like when I was a kid. Like I'm still small, but then I was really small. And he sent me this hoodie, and I just remember it came down to like my knees, and it was a bright yellow hoodie, but I just wore that thing every day, like because I was so proud and frothing that I got this like hook up of a couple of clothes. Like the t-shirts, I don't even think I could wear them because they were just so big, but I just remember running the hoodie all the time, and then obviously got the stickers, put them on my board, and I was stoked. And it really helped push me as a kid, or you know, I think it's those small things that you think you don't realize how important or how much that means to a kid at that time, you know? Like it was probably 4 things, like some stickers, a hoodie, and a couple of tees or whatever. But I just can remember it to this day so clearly. So that was kind of the first sponsor I had, but it wasn't until much later on that I...
Yeah, when did you become, would you say, like when would you say you went from like this kind of sponsored, supported surfer to a professional surfer? What was that transition?
I mean, I guess professional would be once you start getting a paycheck. And so I think early on, Globe was probably my first. Oh, sorry, Body Glove. I take that back. Body Glove was my first paying sponsor. And that was when I was pretty young. And that was a crazy one, but an awesome sponsor that I had for a few years because they were kind of based, it was through the licensee in Australia, but Body Glove was a Californian company. So they would bring me over to Hawaii every year, and I got to meet Ozzy Wright and Luke Steadman, and I don't know if I met Bruce, but he was on Body Glove at the time, Gavin Beshan, Alex Gray, Holly Beck. There was kind of a big crew of these Body Glove riders, and they would bring me over, and they would rent this sick house on the beach at Rocky Left. So I'd just surf Ronnie Bowles, the little like shorey at Rocky Lefts every day. And so I did that for like probably 3 years or something with them. Go over to Hawaii for like a month or something and hang out. So it was awesome for that. And Greg Browning was the team manager. And And so that was a really cool experience. And then Globe, I think, was probably the next one. And so I probably started riding for Globe when I was 19 or 20. So it's been about 21 or 22 years now riding for Globe, which is insane because, yeah, that's pretty long in terms of a sponsorship.
Yeah, fucking oath
with
it
a
is.
brand. I think Taj, I don't know, he must be close to 30 or something with them now. I'd love to know actually, but I did see that TC the other day is riding for Quickie for 50 years, so
Wow.
that's pretty impressive. I
50
thought 20
years.
was good, but yeah, I'm pretty sure
Holy
they just did
shit.
something recently that
Tommy
was
Carroll.
like, yeah, Tommy Carroll's like
50 years.
50 years, I think, with Quickie, which is amazing.
That's
like,
loyalty.
it's crazy loyalty, and that's so cool for a brand to have that loyalty, because it's so easy for a brand to kind of just like pick people up
Filter,
and
yeah.
spit them out and kind of move on to the next big thing. And it's kind of, yeah, it's pretty cutthroat in that regard, you know, but
yeah. So like it was funny when you were saying then how that impact that it has on being like a young kid. We won't go too into this yet, but impact of like just that small little flow sponsorship, a couple little goods here and there, how much that can accelerate someone's like ambition and confidence to become, you know, like what you have as a surfer. But like, you know, these young grommets now, you having ritual vision, I see you're doing that. Like you're just feeding, you know, like the grommets don't need they don't need a big paycheck, but just keeping them like satisfied with stock and just kind of encouraging like a similar transition. Would you say that's kind of what you're aiming for, is what those guys did for you? You're trying to follow the same sort of pattern there?
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's really easy to dismiss or not like give a lot of attention to, or it is, I will say it is hard now because you do get like so many kids, I guess, because Rich has been around for like a year and a half and a bit now. Like it's every day you're kind of getting hit up, so it's hard to keep on top of it. But the goal is to try and, yeah, support as many groms as we can and help, you know, them on their path to whatever it is they want to do. But even if it is just like giving them a little bit extra confidence in the water or getting them more psyched to pursue surfing more, it's not so much like trying to make them want to become a pro surfer or whatever, but it's just, if it
just accelerate the ambition.
Yeah, accelerate the ambition, give them more confidence in their surfing, get them frothing, just more self-confidence also, you know, so it goes a long way. And like I said, I got these couple of things when I was a kid and it just meant so much to me as a grom. So I try and always just think of that, like even when sometimes you're like, fuck, just trying to stay on top of it, you're like, oh no, this means a lot more than what it is for you to send out a couple of pairs of sunnies, you know. Like the response that you get and the reaction from that is it's definitely important, I think, and something I'm trying to really make sure we put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like, I mean, yeah, the last few prams and little events that you've had, every time you're always calling up a couple of local grommets or a couple of kids and, you know, gifting them with this, hey, welcome to the team. Like, I think that's very important as a young kid. Like, I know when I received similar things, like with the local surf shop at the Board Riders Prem, like the Board Riders Prem, you just stuck, you know.
Yeah,
like it's the best thing. Like you're hanging on to that for years. That's the best thing that's happened to you in years. You know,
it's huge. Yeah,
it's amazing. So it's good you're doing that.
Yeah, I love it. And the like I said, the response you get and like the froth from kids is amazing, because that goes both ways, you know. Then makes you psyched and you're like, gives you a new level of froth and kind of an appreciation for those small kind of things that as we get older and as time goes on, you lose, I don't know, everything, you become a bit more jaded or whatever it is. Whereas like when you're a kid, everything is just so exciting and gets you froth. So I'm like feeding grom froth.
Yeah. How
mental.
good. You just like running a team of froth and grommets.
Yeah, sick. It's
So
awesome.
good.
They're nuts. And then the next level of that is like the Huey Vaughns and the Millers and like, you know, that's like a generation ahead or whatever from those kind of like early stage grommets, but they're still grommets in the way that they have that crazy froth and excitement, especially for surfing itself, and like they'll just surf all day. And so being around them has been insane as well, working on this film that we've been doing, like seeing that reminds me of being at that age too, where you're just like, even just surfing. I'm trying, I think I'm a pretty frothing surfer and I try and get in the water every day, but compared to when you look at them, they're just like non-stop. They'll spend all day in the fucking water and like
all day in the drink.
Can't get enough of it. But I think it's just that level of, especially for them, they're so insanely talented and gnarly, and they're at this crazy progressive level where they're literally progressing probably every week still, you know, because as you get older, you kind of probably plateau out a bit, but they're just like on this exponential
on the climb,
climb right now. So every surf they go for, I mean, Huey is a prime example in that wave pool. It's like now I feel like he's just at this point where he just will pick a trick that he wants to do and just go and do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even like he even has to try it that many times or something.
I know, I was busted for that comp, the stab high comp. That was right when I had my op. So I just sat there on me painkillers and just watched that comp. And it's just like, holy shit.
Tripping, yeah.
Crazy stuff going on. I can't even comprehend any of that. But
it was nuts. I missed it. I landed. We just got back from the States. We did a premiere in California. Was there for like 6 days. Came back and I landed and I was like, oh, I want to see how the comp's going. And the first thing I saw was the final was on, but like the other guys in the final were like taking off and going switch and shit. And I was like, what's happening here? And then didn't realize, I just missed, but didn't realize that the first 2 waves Huey had like basically got a perfect score. So then the other dudes just started like going switch and shit.
Let's just give up.
And then recently we were just on a trip to West Oz, which is actually the first trip for the next film that we're starting to make for Ritual Vision. And I'd already done a couple of trips last year with Huey for the first movie, and this trip was just insane. West Oz, surfing that wave, cobblestones a lot of the time that you would have seen a lot of like natural footers doing crazy airs. John's had a lot of sections out there. Creed, Sean Manners, like Noah, bunch of crew have hit it and got crazy stuff. But it was cool to see Huey out there. I'd never seen him, but he was just teeing off on it like same thing, like it was a wave pool.
Yeah.
Doing shit, landing stuff. He landed this lean flip that had never been done in the ocean. I think he maybe had landed one in a pool, maybe not. But yeah, he's just doing shit that hasn't even been done. And then the following day, we're at a different wave and Wade was shooting, and Huey, before they paddled out, Huey was like, what do you want me to do? And Wade was like, oh, I don't know, just like whatever you reckon. And he's like, all right, well, just go and try like a bunch of different airs. And once I land it and you think it's good, like give me a thumbs up and then I'll just move on to the next one. And Wade was like, yeah, okay, sure. And then so Huey goes out and sure enough, he's just like, bang, boom, nails like whatever, let's say big stale fish air reverse or whatever. And he's like looking into Wade like, is that good? Is that sweet? And Wade's like, yeah, that was fucking gnarly. Thumbs up. And he's like, all right, sweet, next one. And then just starts like ticking them off. So he's out there just like a video game or something.
Wow.
And Wade was just tripping like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is kind of another level. So, it's been pretty insane getting to travel with those guys and girls. Like Miller's the same. She's just like, every time I do a trip with her, it's like you see the level just going up exponentially, and she's like gonna, I think, just keep blowing minds over the next couple of years because she's just on that same kind of like trajectory where they're just getting better every fucking couple of weeks. So it's cool to watch, and hopefully with the film we kind of get to document that. I think Wade and I mentioned it a couple of times, like it's going to be really cool to have this first film that has them in like such an early kind of like stage of their career that in 10 years time to be able to look back on that and like reference or look at this point in their life where they were just kind of on the
straight vertical.
Yeah, so it'll be cool to be there and kind of watch them progress over the next 5-10 years.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's discuss a bit more about Ritual. Like you're talking about the Ritual Vision, the new movie that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So Ritualistic Tendencies 1. So the next movie will be number 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So with Ritual Vision, do you just want to, before we talk about the movies, do you want to just give us a bit more, like obviously years ago you were writing for Epochy and now you've branched away and you've started your own sunglasses brand.
Mm-hmm.
So like how did that become something that you wanted to have a swing at? And obviously it's very successful.
Well, yeah, so a couple of mates and I, primarily myself, Kai Neville and Mitch Colborne, years and years ago started Epochy, which is probably going back like 14 or 15 years now, and that, you know, was an amazing time. Had no idea about designing sunglasses or fucking how to have a sunglass company or anything in the beginning, and just kind of gave it a shot, and then was a pretty steep learning curve. I mean, you're always learning, but in the beginning, we really didn't know what the fuck we were doing, but kind of figured it out and fumbled along. But then, that managed to survive, and I'm really proud of that over like 14 years of kind of working. You know, you have something like that, it becomes your baby pretty much. And so that was an incredible time, and still is an incredible brand. It was time for me to kind of like move on from that project, but it was a really kind of special portion of my life, and the team and everything, like getting to sign Oki on the team and stuff. It was just, there's a lot of memorable moments. And then I was kind of out, just cruising for a while, and then had some friends actually that wanted to start a new eyewear brand. They actually come from eyewear, and they knew that I had an experience in eyewear, so approached me about coming on board as kind of the creative director for Ritual Vision, and basically just kind of gave me the keys and were like, look, we've got the back end, need someone to handle the front end. Would you be keen to come on as creative director? So that was kind of the dream.
To your second child.
Yeah, it was kind of the dream scenario, because starting a brand from scratch is really hard, and by yourself it's really difficult. And so when you have other people involved that have, you know, a lot more experience than you on the back end, is super helpful, especially when if your kind of like expertise is more focused on, you know, marketing and the team and design and stuff like that, which is the stuff that I feel like I want to put my energy into. So that's what I've got to do with this, which was amazing. So I got to kind of handpick the team or go and talk to the team. And initially, in the beginning, it was kind of Harry, Noah, Wade, Mikey, and Mason is kind of like the dream team that I pitched. Was like, if you want to do this seriously, I think this is who would be a really good starting point. And so got to kind of chat with them and then get those guys involved. And then obviously the team from there is just kind of like fucking pretty quickly snowballed. And the whole kind of idea with Ritual Vision is to emulate the surf brands of the past, all the ones that kind of a lot of us grew up watching and looking at, you know. And I think the main thing always for me has been surf films. Like I grew up on surf films, I got into making surf films, and that was the most inspiring thing for me as a surfer growing up, was watching surf films. And it's kind of changed these days because the internet has kind of shifted the way that we watch surf films, and surf films have become maybe shorter or easier to digest quickly and kind of move through them, whereas, you know, it was, and the same can be said about records and everything, but it was more of that kind of ritual of going and putting in a VHS, first off, seeing in a magazine an ad for the new Ocean and Earth film or whatever it is, and then being like, fuck, that's coming out, like, damn. And then you go to the surf shop and they've got it and you go buy it, the VHS, run home, slam it in the VHS, watch it start to finish, like, and then you just watch that thing over and over again. Like, how many people have watched Montage or Sabotage like 1,000 times over in their VHS play, just like rinse the thing until it doesn't even work anymore. And I think that's a huge thing that's doesn't seem to happen as much these days. Like, at least I don't find myself going back to YouTube and just watching the same thing over and over again. I kind of do it with VHS movies, like, it might be Bruce movie or Magnaplasm or ones that I grew up watching, but new stuff, not as much.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just me or what, but if I'm just kind of have such a strong kind of connection to these old films, because that's what I grew up watching, so I can go back and just keep watching them. But just, I don't know, there's not that physical interaction. It doesn't sit on your shelf.
Yeah.
Like, we have a house here now that I rent, and it's called the HQ for Ritual, just because it's kind of everyone comes stays when they're around, and it's where I do all my work and stuff. And the walls are covered in posters, and I've got a big cabinet that's just full of VHSs and surf mags. But I got my VHS player, VHSs, and it's amazing. Every morning you wake up and you go and you flick through and you pick one out and put it on. But watching surf films, like, nothing will make you as excited to surf as watching a surf film.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that was a huge part of it, being a grommet and like getting just watching stuff over and over again, breaking down every wave, rewinding, slow-moing, watching Aussie doing the same air over and over again, and you're like learning through watching. So I think what we're trying to do, what my main goal with Ritual is, to try and make a surf film as consistently as we can. The goal was every year. I think it's going to end up being every year and a half. But it's just that. It's like all the brands that we all grew up watching and aspired to be a part of was mostly because they made surf films, and that was kind of what made the brand special. So I think for Ritual, it's all about making surf films, and that's the kind of main focus of the brand, is putting effort into the team and the surf films, and everything else is kind of secondary to that. So hopefully it feels more like, obviously sunglasses is the product, but the main focus for us constantly is like working on surf films. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, would you say that you're deriving most of your influence from what era?
I mean, it's all just basically my childhood, or like grommethood, or whatever you would call it, which would be, like I said, I kind of got hard into surfing probably around 12. So let's say that's 97.
Mm-hmm.
Would be when I would say I really was like starting to laser focus in on surfing and surfers and brands and films and stuff. Like, I'd been exposed to it my whole childhood because Dad surfed and he always had VHSs, and I'd watch stuff even before I surfed, like old hot buttered films and stuff. Like,
so 90s, early 2000s.
Early 90s was like when I was kind of seeing that stuff for the first time, from 10 years old, kind of watching that stuff, but not really laser focusing on it. But then, when you really get into surfing and all of a sudden your whole world is surfing or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably 13. So yeah, 98.
90s.
I'd say late 90s is when I was really into it. And then probably in the most impressionable time through, the early 2000s and whatnot. So kind of like, if I had to boil it down to one film that, when I was at my most impressionable, that I probably watched the most, would have been Montage, and then 7 Days, 7 Slaves, when that came out on Waves magazine, as I think the first ever cover mount movie.
Yeah.
I think it was the first ever cover mount VHS. I can't remember what year. I would have to guess like 2002, 2001
Yeah.
or something.
By cover mount, do you mean when it used to come in a little sleeve and
Exactly.
and the video would be in there too?
Yeah, the vid was in there.
Yeah,
And
that was mad.
that's like that was a VHS in the mag.
In the bag with the mag.
In
You're
the
getting
bag
the
with the
whole
mag.
packet. Yeah.
Hoyo on the cover. It was a red cover of Hoyo.
Yeah, that's mad.
Insane film by a guy called Hollywood. And I think at that time, Vaughn and Sam maybe were at Vaughn Blakey and Sam Mack. I think we're at Waves then too. But yeah, it was kind of Aussie prime, Aussie does a crazy frontside big spin thing, and like, yeah, Taj, Poyo, Luke Hitchens, Noodles, like insane film. And just one boat trip, made a whole film out of it. That to me was like one that really stood out. Like I can distinctly remember going to, as soon as the bell rang from school, like jumping on my bike, riding to the news agency because I knew it had come out that day.
Grabbing the thing.
Going straight to my buddy Jacob's house, plugging it in, watching it, and just being mind blown, just tripping, and then going straight out for a surf at Cromer Beachy that was probably onshore and shitty, and just trying to do like little airs and stuff, but just watching that on repeat. And the same with Montage, because Taj was my favorite surfer growing up. So yeah, I think there was just something about watching films over and over again those days that, yeah, we're almost finished a film, working on it all day today and the next couple of days, and then hopefully get it online by next Thursday. And I just hope the one goal for the film would be that hopefully people watch it more than once.
Yeah.
Hopefully kids watch it and they froth and
then
they love a certain section or whatever it
Yeah.
is, and you go and you watch your favorite section. Just, yeah, that's when I think, it's a good surf film if people like go back and watch it again.
Yeah, it is a funny thing because like these days you just got the multitude of any sort of film in the palm of your hand, don't you? You type the name in and there it is.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was the thing with VHS is what you bought, what you selected, you got your 10, 12, 15, you pick one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost overwhelming these days.
Oh,
You've
it's
got
just too much.
so many that like, fuck, I've got too many options. Whereas there, it was like, yeah, if you had your stack of records and your stack of VHSs or your stack of CDs, it's like that's what you've got.
Yeah, exactly.
You pick the one for the mood you're in or whatever the waves you think you're going to be like. So yeah, it's a different landscape now. We tried as hard as we possibly could to try and release the movie on VHS and sell it in surf shops and bring that back, but I couldn't even find somewhere that was printing VHSs anymore.
No one has the players anymore and stuff. It's hard, isn't it?
That's the thing. Wouldn't have been a good commercial decision, but I've always made pretty shitty commercial decisions, so would have been in line with that.
So let's talking movies and talking the internet. This is funny because you're saying like obviously you were so invested in having VHSs and surf movies, but like Dion TV, like from what I remember, I was chatting to Harry Bryan about this. You were one of the first surf vloggers. I don't know if you call it a vlog because now what vlogging is quite different to what that was, but like Dion TV, like what? How did Dion TV come about, and how did that operate and run?
Yeah, I mean, still kind of similar concept. And apologies for like definitely helping fucking fuel that whole thing in surf because I always feel pretty embarrassed about that, to be honest. But it was early days of like
how old were you?
Early 20s, I think. I'd say like 22, 23. And how it came about was that I had just I don't know if I'd done a trip with him yet, but I was a big fan of Taylor Steele. He was doing a series called the Drive-Through series, which was like I think they were probably VHS and then probably DVD pretty soon after. But I really loved them. They were this kind of behind the scenes look at traveling with like Benji Weatherly, Donovan Frankenreiter, and then they would have a bunch of other guests on the trip.
Yeah.
And Taylor would make these movies, and they were called The Drive-Thru, but it was a really kind of documentary style film. And I was writing for Globe. Steve Douglas, incredible kind of marketing manager there, still there now, and still was there from early on in the company. He's been there for a long time, but anyways, he has been kind of a huge influence on me and my whole career, and kind of helped back everything that I wanted to do. And so he brought me into the office one day. I'd just finished, I'd come out of the junior series. I finished third behind Ben Dunn and Matt Wilkinson. So I was like, all right, I've done well. Like, the junior series back then was a pretty big deal, and I felt like that was a pretty big accomplishment. So that meant I was going to go on to do the WQS and try and qualify. And I was feeling pretty good, like third in Oz. I was like, fuck, that's pretty sweet. It was like one of the tougher regions in the world, and went to the world titles and all that kind of stuff. But then found out pretty quickly, like, I did the WQS for like not even a year, and just got my ass absolutely handed to me, like completely smoked. Pulled me back into line pretty quick, and was pretty disheartened. And I went into Globe with a meeting with Steve one day, and he said, look, we don't want you to do contests anymore. Like, we want you to just be a free surfer. We know you've got other interests outside it. We know you like doing filming and editing. Like, let's just focus on that. And I was tripping, because I was like, wow, that sounds like the dream. And so I went away. First thing I did was, there was a contest in a WQS coming up in Margie's, and I'd already signed up for it. But of course, I like went and did it. It was like massive, 8-foot Margaret River, just onshore, gnarly. I just got completely smoked. And I just remember coming in from my heat, pretty much with my tail between my legs, and my phone starts ringing, and I look down. It's probably a fucking Nokia 3210 at that point, and it's Steve Douglas. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I knew this was going to happen. He'd seen that I was in the comp and watched the heat, and he literally called me and was like, we told you not to do any more contests. Like, what are you doing? You're a free surfer now. Like, blew up at me for doing the comp.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, that's bad.
And he was like, don't do any more competitions. I was like, all right, no more comps. And so from that point on, I never did another competition in my life, pretty much. And from that point on, he was like, it's just free surfing. We're just going to work on free surfing. And at that time, it wasn't a lot of free surfers. Like, it wasn't a really popular kind of avenue for professional surfing. Obviously, there was like Margot and Rasta, kind of the two main ones I looked up to when I was growing up, watching like Justin Gaines' old films and Jack McCoy's old films. But Aussie was kind of like the main one that I would have been looking up to. Yeah, that was kind of like my free surf, kind of like idol. So I was like, what do I do?
How do you stay current? Yeah, if you're not in the cons or you're not putting yourself out there.
Yeah, because it's a really kind of nice, easy way to have a kind of metric of you doing your job as a pro surfer. Is like, you're going and doing these competitions, you've got X amount a year, you're doing them, you're hopefully doing good, and at the end of the year you've got a ratings and you can see where you sit, and that's kind of how you're doing. Free surfing, it's like, fuck, how do you measure that? And it was at that point like magazine exposure, and then in movies or VHSs or DVDs. But the internet was kind of a thing, and YouTube was kind of starting to be a thing. And then I'd been watching these Taylor Steele films with
the drive-thrus.
Yeah, the drive-thrus, and I was like, fuck, I wonder if there's a way you could kind of take that, but instead of making a film, we just kind of made it mini and did it online. And so I remember I went into a meeting one day with Steve, and
you proposed the idea?
I proposed the idea to him, but it was really weird because when I proposed it to him, he kind of pitched the same thing back to me, or we kind of pitched the same thing. It was this weird thing where we both had been thinking about it and we'd come to a similar, we might have talked about the drive-throughs or something earlier, but we kind of came to the same conclusion. And I was like, I've got the perfect guy to shoot it, because Steve was like, well, you're going to need to travel with someone.
Yeah.
And just before that, my buddy Baron Hall, who's an incredible cinematographer in surfing and a big name in kind of surf cinematography now, at that time he had just finished his uni degree. I think he'd done a trip overseas and came back to Australia and wasn't sure what he was going to do. We moved in together and I was like, yeah, I've got this mate, Baron. He's like a really good filmer. Like, he'd be perfect for it.
He can make it
nail
happen
it.
for us. Yeah.
And so and Steve was like, perfect. We'll get him a salary. You guys can travel together.
Oh,
like,
man.
go for it. And so I remember just driving home like, fuck, kind of excited, but also like, shit, Bez hasn't filmed before. And so I got home and then I was like, Bez, what do you reckon? And he's like, let's do it. And Bez is so smart and like,
wait, sorry, I might have
creative
got a bit lost there. So he wasn't at all a filmer.
No, not at all. I'd never picked up a camera
Okay,
in
so
his life.
I was under the impression that he did a little bit and you were like, he's the best. So
No.
he had no idea
He
at
had
all.
no idea.
Oh
I
my
think I might have
gosh.
mentioned to Bez, like, I think I'm going to pitch this to Globe. I'm just going to tell them that you can film, and if they go for it, we'll figure that out.
That's
like,
unbelievable.
We'll make that work. And literally got home, and I was like, all right, let's go. And so we went down to the beach here, set up the tripod, set up the camera, and within, of course, like 2 sessions, Baron was just like
Nailed it.
And so yeah, then we spent the next probably 5 or 6 years, 7. I don't even know how long it was, but yeah, that kind of was the birth of. It was actually called .tv Dion because it was the website was globe.tv/Dion.
Okay, yeah.
So we took the last bit, it was .tv Dion.
Yeah.
Which everyone just said Dion TV, but
Dion TV.
I like pointing that out that it wasn't Dion TV. It was actually .tv/Dion. It was just the website, but
yeah.
it kind of, we started it and then it started snowballing and it kind of just took off. I think because it just hadn't been done.
Yeah,
and
you
so
kind of just broke some new ground.
It was just kind of a new thing. Luckily, we just kind of got
Which
to the
is mad. Yeah, that's cool.
off it. And so, yeah, that allowed us to kind of keep doing that for like 6 or 7 years. And then off the back of that, we'd be working on film projects. And so, yeah, it was a pretty amazing time. And we just had a lot of freedom, and Globe just kind of gave us the golden ticket to just go and do whatever we wanted.
Go surf, like, film, have fun and film it, please.
Yeah, pretty much.
That works.
Like, the more fun you're having, the better footage it is. So do that. Like,
fuck yeah.
Fuck, it was crazy. We were just young and having a good time, and yeah.
That is the golden ticket, isn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty frothing as a Grom getting that opportunity. We were really stoked.
That's unbelievable. Hey, I'm kind of about ready to have a piss. I don't know how you're tracking, so want to take a quick little
take a break.
Stop here. We'll go for a quick piss.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we got some cold beers on the ready, and then we'll swing back into it.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Right on. We're back on. Yeah, so just chatting about Dion TV and stuff. Like, I feel like maybe as a young lad, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this question. Oh, it's all right. It'll cut out. I'm not sure. I feel like, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this, but how old are you, D?
22. Nah, 41.
41?
Yeah, just turned 41, yeah.
Okay, so when I was a grommet, I think the .tv Dion series would have been probably pretty at the point where I was a real froth and surfer when I would have been in the kind of early teens, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember, but I remember that pretty clearly. So like a question that I've always been interested in, right, is, you know, since I was a kid, like a young kid, just getting into surfing essentially. Well, like getting that, like you said, that proper froth when you're like a young teenager.
Yeah.
You were like at the forefront of professional surfer, of relevance that I looked up to and recognized. And yet now you just said you're 42 and still you're at
41.
41. Still you're at that forefront of the surf world. You're still in the spotlight. Like, how do you maintain that relevance? Like, are you constantly having to shape shift and adapt to the current climate of the surf world, or are you just constantly experimenting with new ideas that then take off and put you back up that kind of the forefront of the surfing world?
I mean, I think, like, for one, I wouldn't put myself at the forefront of the surfing world, but I've still tried to stay, for sure, I guess, like, relevant or continue to keep a pro surfing career alive, which
Yeah.
I would put it down to a couple of things which aren't on me. It's more external things that I think a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do, which sucks. But one is sponsorship, and like sponsors that back you the whole time. Like I said with Globe, they've sponsored me for over 20 years now. So that's like one of the most important, biggest factors to it, because you can't do it otherwise, like you can't afford to do it, and you would just go and get a job.
Yeah.
So I've just been so lucky in that regard that I've had sponsors that have kind of supported me for such a long time, because I've got so many other friends that were either far more talented or equally as talented or whatever, but like haven't had the financial support, so they've had to move on. So they haven't got to continue their surf career. So that's kind of the main reason why I've got to kind of have this longevity. And then
with that sponsor, just quickly, sorry. So with that sponsorship, would you say that you're adapting yourself, or you're kind of shape shifting in a way to make yourself a continued asset to these brands? Are you changing your system, or are you changing the way you go about things to make yourself a relevant asset to these brands?
I mean, the not so much yourself, but probably just making sure you're keeping up with like current technologies or whatever, or whether, nowadays probably one of the most obvious would be Instagram.
Yeah.
And that as a marketing tool.
Staying active on social media as social media has taken its kind of reign over everything.
Yeah, which, like I don't want to do that, and who really does, but for a professional surfer nowadays, it's such a huge thing that brands look to. I try not to put a lot of emphasis on it from a brand perspective for like our riders and stuff, but for a lot of brands, they do put a lot of value in people's followings and them posting stuff for them or whatever. But the reality is that's a pretty fucking piss easy thing to do if you are a surfer. And like, what if someone's asking you to post a couple of things and they'll pay you? Fuck yeah. Like, as if you're not going to do that. So staying probably just on top of...
So just being proactive, would you say?
Being proactive and staying on top of new stuff, like at that time, back in the day, it was the fucking internet and YouTube and vlogging or whatever. But also, like, I've always worked. So the next thing after, like, having sponsors that support you would be, I've always had this crazy network of incredibly talented filmmakers and stuff, and photographers that I've worked with, like John Respondek. I've worked with him pretty much since my early 20s or whatever, and then I was lucky enough to be in a lot of Kai's films early on, and then Joe G's films, and then there's just all these, and the list goes on. That's just a small example, but I've always kind of had this amazing group of people around me that were these incredible filmmakers, photographers, Sam McIntosh that runs Stab, like friends that have been in these positions that I've got to know over years that have helped me and kind of helped me maintain in that kind of sphere. So definitely that as well has been a big thing, and really putting a lot of emphasis on wanting to be in those projects and trying your hardest to get the best stuff you can because you believe in the film that Kai's doing or Joe's doing or someone's making. Like,
Yeah.
you really believe in that project and know that that might give you another couple of years if you have a good part in that.
Yeah.
So you're going to work really hard to get footage in that.
What's your favorite part, would you say? Or like favorite film that you've been a part of, like a collective sort of film?
I mean, the Globe ones were so special. Definitely like Kai's films and the Globe films were like my most kind of
Do you have a title?
and Taylor's early films as well, because it was someone I looked up to so much. So like Stranger Than Fiction was the first film that I got to go in of Taylor's, and that was a huge break for me. And also he did a follow up to Castles in the Sky, which was fuck, I'm having a mental blank now. It was, anyways, let's say the following movie he did from Castles in the Sky. I got to go in that, and Mike Losses and I did a trip to Vietnam.
Surfing in Vietnam?
We tried to. We were there for about a month, and I just remember it being a really long month because the waves were tiny. But everyone had brought their partners on the trip, and I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and so the waves were shitty. They were off like doing stuff, and I was just kind of like roaming around. And
What am I
it
going
was
to do?
actually a pretty important trip for me, because Dustin Humphrey, who was a incredible photographer, he lent me this 50mm lens that he had, like a 1.4 aperture lens, and I'd never had anything like that. I had this kind of like little Canon that you could change the lenses, and so he gave me this lens, and I just remember walking around shooting a bunch of stuff, and it was the first time I really started to learn properly about aperture and shutter speed and everything to do with still photography. So that kind of like set me on a really nice path of kind of a love for
Kind of a
photography. Yeah. And so it was a really nice trip. But that one, yeah, Taylor's early projects were super special to me to be a part of that just after growing up watching that. And then Kai kind of came up as a protege of Taylor. And then Joe was actually the same. Joe was doing editing for Taylor early on. So Taylor was kind of this pretty amazing launch pad for a lot of like really incredible surf directors and editors and cinematographers. But the Globe films were always a really special time. Like Joe is one of my kind of dearest friends and someone that I've looked up to since I was a kid. And I got my first break in a film they did called Secret Machine. Before that, they had done Somewhere, Anywhere, Everywhere was kind of the main film that I remember watching Globe film that I was really blown away by. And there was just, I remember they had a premiere on the Gold Coast, and Taj arrived in like a yellow stretch Hummer limo, and Occy was there, and it was Pancho and the Hobgoods and Nathan Webster, Luke Hitchens, and I wasn't even at that premiere, but I just remember, I think I went to one of them. They did it at Twin Towns in Coolangatta, but just as burned into my mind, like this like fanfare that was around it and this huge movie. And I was just like, man, this is crazy. These guys are like superstars.
Yeah.
And Globe is doing this big movie and like throwing this whole premiere. This is insane. Imagine being in that. And then, the next one was when I was writing for Globe at the time. And then the next one was when I got a break. And it was just because I'd landed this like what you would call a Gorkin flip in Bali. And that kind of like definitely helped.
Gorkin flip?
Yeah. After, Aaron Cormican, who's a surfer from the east coast of the States, and he kind of pioneered this move called the Gorkin flip, and it's basically a backside double grab alley-oop. It's kind of inverted though, so it's kind of a bit flippish, but it's not.
Is it
that much.
slightly across in with like a rodeo sort of? Is it slightly
It's like
rodeo-ish?
it's a rodeo without the last
Without the last
spin.
So you're just doing an alley-oop and landing backwards and then spinning out? Or?
Yeah, you just kind of like do a bit of a roll kind of oop thing and then right out of it. The same way you come into it, whereas you do this exact same motion with a rodeo, but you chuck an extra
more,
180 at the end, and rotate out of it.
So you're just doing the rodeo, but landing nose first.
Yeah, and it's actually a super functional move. You kind of backside, you come around, it's in a bowl, you come out of the lip, you grab and you come back down nose first and
keep on
shoot
going
with the wave. So it's a pretty functional move, but
Gorkin
I just
flip, I've
happened
never
to
heard of that.
Yeah, get one like a fluke at Karamas, and it kind of like slingshotted my career because word got out that I'd got this flip, and Taylor was on the phone. Taylor still was ringing me trying to get the clip. Globe, Joe G, because they were both working on films at the time. Joe G was chasing it, trying to get the clip, and so I ended up giving it to Globe. There was definitely it was a huge mind fuck for me because I had all of a sudden two of like my
good mates,
heroes and like idols, and we're kind of becoming mates. At that time, Taylor was still not really, I didn't know him that well, so I was still just like tripping that he was calling me trying to get this clip. But I ended up going with Globe and giving it to them, and they ended up using it as the final wave in Secret Machine. So it's like the last clip of the film. I think Joe said that to me. He's like, if you give it to us, we'll use it as the last clip. And the last clip of the movie was always like the coveted clip that you wanted to get. Like it was always going to be the craziest wave of the whole film.
Yeah, it's just the last thing. It's the last burnt memory before it goes to the credits.
Yeah, so that to me was kind of like sealed the deal. So gave them the clip, and then so the Globe films after that, I was pretty involved with the next kind of like 3 films or something that they did. But Globe, once again going back to kind of the ritual thing, to me that was a brand that I really looked up to because they put so much focus and energy on making surf films and budget into surf films and supporting surf films and filmmakers. And Joe was kind of just like leading that program for probably 10 years or whatever, or more, and was able to be a part of all these amazing films with these epic teams. And that was such a fun time. It's just crazy now when you talk about it with other surfers and stuff that were a part of it, and it's obviously nostalgic, but it just kind of bums me out too that it's hard for that to exist these days because a lot of brands don't have the same capacity and budgets that they did back then to just fund films. Or maybe they do, but they just don't do it. So
does it require, like, just from the ritual perspective, does it require quite a bit of budget to be able to take a team like the team you have on a trip?
Yeah, I mean, when it's all said and done, like as a rough kind of example, I would say this first film, you could say it would cost 120 grand.
Really?
Maybe.
Okay.
And that's bare bones. Like that's like for something, this is an hour-long film with the team, and that's not paying for everyone's travel. That's like you're just kind of making it work while you can. And so you could easily spend a shitload more than that. Like it should have cost way more than that, but that was actually over budget for what we had, but we just fucking made it happen. But that would be minimum, for a full length team film traveling around, because it gets so expensive so quick.
So it's quite an outlay for something that isn't a guaranteed success. I mean, I guess that's any sort of film or any sort of like thing in the entertainment industry. Like if you invest and put a lot into it, there's no guarantee that that's going to pay you back.
Absolutely no guarantee. And like,
that's probably hard, right? As in your position, like,
yeah, you
does
just
that have added stress or?
well, you're just kind of writing it off as a marketing expense, and that's the other thing. Like the difference nowadays and with the internet is when Taylor was making films, and even the early Globe films, like they were selling them. So you could outlay 150 grand, no worries, because you knew you were going to make that back from the sales. Whereas now you're outlaying that and then you're putting it on YouTube. The only way you're making that money back is by people being psyched on the brand from watching the film and then go and buying Sunnies, which like you can't correlate that. Like we won't have data over the next year to say that these people bought Sunnies because they watched the film. Like you can't make that connection. So you're just basically throwing that money in and hoping
and seeing the product and being, well, okay.
Yeah, hoping that that's, and not hoping, no, like I know that that's because that's what it was for me growing up. Like that's what influences you to like a brand or want to support that brand, you know? So that's, you put all your eggs in that basket, even though you know you're not directly getting that money back. Like I hope that people will watch the film and be like, that's epic. I want to support that brand because they've gone and done this film and I'm psyched on this. So the payoff will come over years and years and years, but it's not a direct like, fuck, we just sold 100 copies of the movie, $20 each. Like we just made this amount of money. There's no like,
and it would have been less competitive back then too. Obviously, like, you know, magazines are attaching the movies with it. You get the DVD. It's not like now, you know, 50, 60 people have dropped their edit of the year in the last 3 months. It's like, it's like much more competitive fighting against the internet rather than a handful of magazines.
Exactly.
And brands.
It's kind of flooded market. And so I think the idea or the hope is that if we do something a bit slower, take our time, really put a lot of effort into it, really like even the soundtrack, you know, like we've had to spend, it's probably going to end up being like 40 grand on the soundtrack. Yeah, just on the music. But
is that paying for the right to use songs? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, licensing to use the music, because, you know, you can, it's kind of a grey area with YouTube. You can kind of use stuff, but it can get taken down.
Yeah.
I've seen friends' videos get taken down because the licensing wasn't right or expired. People get sued. And you obviously want to support the artist. So we kind of said, you know, we're going to fuck it. We're going to do this the right way.
Yeah.
Invest in music that's going to elevate the brand, you know, and that's a fucking 40 grand expense, which is crazy for, we're like a new brand that like is still just trying to make any money, but then you're already going, you have to go and tell, you know, the powers that be that you're going to spend 40 grand on music and
spend money to make money. Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much. And so, I just think, to me, surf films are very worth investing in because that's what shapes your brand. Like that's what's, to me, Ritual Vision hasn't even launched yet. It doesn't launch until the movie comes out. So it's been out for a year and a half, but like you haven't done anything yet. Like, got a sick team and we've showed the making of the movie, but like we haven't even showed what we've been doing. So the brand's not launched until next week to me.
Yeah.
At least like that's the start of the brand.
That's the motive. Oh, I like it. So before I want to kind of divert the conversation a little bit away from surfing because everyone obviously knows you most specifically for the surfing aspect. But just before I just jump over there, it's just in this part of the conversation that we've had, I'm starting to like see a little bit earlier. We talked about the ritual, you know, of the ritual act of surfing, like that gliding, the effortlessness of like being able to ride on a wave once you're on it, going under the water, like the ritual of getting up in the morning and the methodical process of getting down to have that surf, you know what I mean? And then talking about you like building up as a young surfer, you had this cult following to follow these brands that were bringing out parts and creating like an atmosphere, a family, a community around these parts, these movies that created this cult following to a brand, rather than just being a brand and we got all these pro surfers and everyone loves our brand because we sponsor them.
Yeah.
So like I'm starting to see like the whole like the cult aspects that you talk about, like the like the join the cult, the ritual cult, like so like I'm just having this conversation. I'm seeing like the blend between the ritual and the cult aspects of it, like the cult following, like gaining these people that become a part of the brand rather than just like watchers of it.
Yeah. Hopefully that's kind of.
I mean, already it seems it's begun. It's set in that way,
I think bringing people into it, and trying to, and that's what I guess the surf film or working on the surf film was done, and we've been documenting along the way. It's like you bring people in behind the scenes, kind of get them to know the surfers on the team, and realize that like the people that are running the brand are like, Harry, Mason, Mikey, Noah are all owners in the company. Like from early on, I was like, if you want to get these guys in, you have to make them owners of the company. Like these guys have to have say over everything, and they have to have ownership.
Yeah.
And so they're literally the owners of the company that have the say on what goes on. I'm kind of at the forefront making sure that everyone's sweet, but it's us running the thing and like getting to make the moves and pull the trigger on the decisions. So yeah, getting to bring people along for the ride and show them the kind of ins and outs of it. And I think that's what builds, I'm not going to call it a cult following, but like we joke about it, joining the cult or whatever, but it does start to feel, it has felt already like this amazing community of people that feel a part of it. And I feel like they are getting something more out of it than just getting fed shit, hopefully. So
yeah, we're getting fed modern day over digitalized bullshit, and instead stripping it back to what the essence of surfing was and gaining a following for going, no, we're not gonna follow this track. We're gonna go back to when surfing was at its peak. I mean, you could say that, right? When surfing was at its peak, when you got a magazine, you had the movies, you're kind of taking it back to when it was at its peak and maintaining that kind of preserving that essence of like what a surfing video and the kind of the ability to have that said thing and watch it continuously and kind of find your space to find your idols within that rather than every day seeing a new clip of someone else, some a new place of the world. It's too scrambled. And I think you're kind of tapping into that, getting back to the essence of here's a part with all of us on a trip. We're here. And here's said surfers. We're in this new place. Here's said surfers. It's just stripping it back and making it a more simpler version of what the essence of surfing is.
Pretty much.
And I think you're nailing that so far.
Thank you. It's definitely like simplifying it. We're just trying to keep it pretty simple. I mean, the movie is the focus, but we also made a magazine as well, which was super fun. Worked with a buddy, Sam Smith, who's actually a really old friend of mine, who's now an incredible designer. And so Wade and I, love photography and shoot photos as well as filming all these trips. So we just ended up with this crazy catalog of still imagery kind of behind the scenes. And so we made a magazine as well to kind of coincide with the film, which we'll do each time, which is also, trying to bring it back to that. Yeah. Having that physical.
It's conceptualized.
Thing. Yeah.
You've got a concept.
Flick through and
I like it.
Look at it and have it on your dining room table, or it's just, we're trying to not have it all be as digital as possible. And like I said, I was trying to figure out a way to have the movie be physical. Didn't end up working out this time, but yeah, between the surf film and the magazine, that's kind of like the main focus, and it's simple, like you're saying. It's just kind of bringing it back to simple elements. I'm not saying that Quicksilver and Billabong and all the brands that we did look up to at a point when I was young, they were only doing that, but that was just the things that really stood out to me or made an impact to me was like film. So we've kind of just gone all in on that, and that's the focus. It's not because we'll get new colorways in sunnies and all this shit. Sometimes it doesn't line up. It doesn't work for like a normal kind of brand where you're like, well, I need shots of Harry, Mikey, so and so wearing this new colorway, which is how you would normally. Most brands would be working around calendars and kind of what product they've got releasing, and let's shoot the guys in this. We need them here to get this.
But you do the opposite.
Well, we just go on surf trips and whatever we have then, that's what I get to shoot. But like now I'm fucked because I've got new sunnies coming out and like I don't have any shots of anyone in them because we haven't been doing any surf trips. But, I don't really want to go and just shoot them wearing the sunnies. I'd rather do it on a trip, or we take a big box and like everyone's wearing stuff while we're on the trip. Like that makes it more real and nice, and it feels more, I don't know, it just feels more kind of real to me than going and forcing them to like stand there awkwardly and like try and fucking make them not look awkward.
Yeah.
So I do. Every now and again we have to do it, I'm not going to lie, but a lot of the time the way we're doing it isn't how you would normally do it if you were a bit more commercially minded.
Yeah.
It's kind of everything just based around the surf trip. So whatever we have then, that's what we get.
Whereas with other brands, it's often the surf trip is based around having to release a product. Yeah,
exactly. Or like a brand I won't name with a rider I won't name recently went, not last year, whatever it was, did a trip to Tahiti for a photo shoot, trying to shoot some board shorts or something. And they get there and just so happens the waves are fucking cooking. Like, didn't plan for that. Like, was just like, we're going to be in Tahiti on these dates to shoot this new board short range with the team. Turns out the waves are firing, and tried to stop said surfer going and surfing, like cooking chopes. Like, nah, today we've got like this photographer's locked in and we've got to shoot this and we've got a plan to do this. And they're like, we're a bunch of professional surfers in Tahiti. The waves are absolutely cooking. And you're saying
on the beach
that we need to stand there and model the clothes. Like, give me the boardies. I'll go and pull into a 10-footer out chopes right now. Like, that's just kind of a little example, of like the essence of it, or the the reality of it, of being like, these are pro surfers, just let them go surf.
And what you're trying to kind of counteract in a sense.
Just let them surf. Like, the idea is to kind of have this amazing team and get them on surf trips and get them surfing and film it and show people. Like, that's kind of which is so simple, but it does become really hard, especially in bigger kind of corporations and stuff, because they have so many people that need so many different things that it can get convoluted and get tricky. So trying to keep it really simple, and it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just get these good surfers surfing and film it. Like, that's kind of the reality
back
of it.
Back to the roots, stripping it back.
Yeah, just keeping it pretty easy.
Yeah.
Keeping it simple.
Very good. Yeah. I mean, and it's evident. You can see that you guys, like, I think the way you're projecting the brand, it's evident what you're doing is evident. People can see that. So
hope so. Yeah, I hope that it's people like it. I mean, it's like I said, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just based off all the brands that we kind of looked up to. So it's just it's just focused on surfing, really. And I think a lot of also brands, as they get bigger, and I've seen it as well, you start to, there's this constant kind of growth that you're trying to hit. And unfortunately, a lot of time of that growth comes from outside of maybe what your kind of industry is, or like
growth
core
comes
following
from
is.
Demand, maybe.
Yeah, and just like outside of, it can come from outside of surf. So I think one big thing that we see with a lot of brands now, that maybe they're like 10, 15 years old, longer, 15, 20 years old, all the brands we grew up looking up to, you look at them now and you might say they've lost their way, they're not fucking speaking to their core true surf audience anymore. It's because you get to a point, like if you're trying to constantly grow year on year, you kind of can reach a ceiling when you're that big that you have to look outside of surfing. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And I dare say that's what the WSL is trying to do. You know, it's like core surf is this big, which is fucking huge. Like that's a lot of people worldwide, and it's an amazing industry. And like everyone used to just talk to that, and they didn't give a fuck about what was outside of that. And surfing was counterculture, and you worked within that space, and we had our own world that we all lived in. Fuck everyone else. Like, I don't give a fuck if you don't surf, then yeah, I don't want you to buy my board shorts or whatever. But now it's like, I want fucking everyone to buy my
I
board
want someone
shorts.
out Dubbo to see me shorts and go, hey, I'm going to spend top dollar to get these.
Yeah, like
it's
not
strange, isn't it?
It's not just for surfing anymore.
Surfing isn't
and
just for surfing, surfing's for everyone.
surf brands
Which
aren't
is-
just for surfing, you know?
Which I guess in a sense is good in a way, but like as a core surfer and depending on what the vision of your brand is, you want to keep it essentially surfing made for surfers. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And like I said, the surf community is massive. Like, I don't know, unless you're trying to be a fucking $40 million company bigger, you don't need to go outside of surf. Like, you can just be inside surf and stay true to everyone in it and be super successful. Have like an amazing, but you know, what is success to people? Is it fucking tens of millions of dollars, or is it being able to just take your team on a surf trip? Like, depends. Depends where you're aiming.
That's exactly where you set the bench for success. Well, look, let's kind of like we were saying before, let's divert the conversation a little bit. I want to know, I mean, growing up, I've watched you surf, so like I've obviously followed your surf journey to some degree. I don't know the ins and outs, but like I'm interested a bit more in your like artistic avenues, you know, stemming back to like, well, for an example, your container project. So I had someone, I put out the question to see if anyone had anything that they'd like me to ask you, and someone, Jaden Koso, has asked me, where did you draw most of your inspiration from for your container project?
Question, Jado.
Yeah.
I can't remember where it's first. I think I'd stayed. I'm trying to remember where it was. Way years ago, I stayed in an Airbnb one time, somewhere overseas, or like a little rental somewhere. I think it was in France, and someone had built a little back house out of like a shipping container.
Yep.
And I hadn't really before. I guess that was kind of more of a thing. I'd never heard of it before, and I was like, whoa, that's nuts. This dude just used a shipping container and like built a little pretty sick little place out of it. So that was kind of the first time where I'd experienced someone converting a shipping container into it. And then obviously as you start to look into it, it was something that was kind of happening, and I got super interested in it, and I had a place, like a block up in Byron years ago, and I didn't have the money to like build a house or anything on it. And so my buddy was a builder, and I was like, hey, I want to get a shipping container. Will you help me? And so I found one. I went past this farm out the back of like fucking up in the hills somewhere, and the farmer sold me his shipping container, got it brought down in a truck, plonked it down, and then my buddy kind of like helped me insulate it, put walls inside, cut a bunch out, and built a little deck outside, a little outdoor bathroom. And I was like, fuck, this is mental. And we did it pretty cheap. I reckon it probably only cost 30 grand, 20 grand all up. And it was a fully livable, like epic space. The kitchen was all outside. It was just one of those like massive fucking Barbies with a bunch of like extra hot plates and shit. So I kind of said that was the kitchen, but and the toilet was an outhouse built off like a pallet. So, but it was comfortable and sweet, and so it kind of got me thinking about being able to just utilize that space. And then when you're working in the parameters of just like that shipping container, it's kind of nice sometimes to have limits of design where you know, if someone gives you a blank page and says, fucking build your dream home,
It's hard to
so
gather.
hard
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the options are endless. Whereas if you start with a, you know,
A template.
template, and that's it. How do you maximize that? So then I started thinking about heaps how to kind of maximize that space and make it livable. And I got a place down in Tassie maybe like 8 years ago, close to my mum and dad's and close to where I grew up, like 5 minutes from the town I grew up, in a place called Upper Scamander. And it was just kind of like a bush property. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to try and put a shipping container here. And then, yeah, got this 40-foot container and just kind of went nuts on it. Worked with a buddy who I grew up with in Tassie, who's an architect now, works at a firm in Launceston. And so he helped me kind of bring it to life. But yeah, it's nothing architecturally. It's super simple. It's just basically the container.
Single container?
It's a 40-foot container, but it's called a high cube. You get an extra kind of high roof.
Yep.
And then outside the roof line extends another 2.2 or 2 meters out from that. And then the bathroom is a separate building that's connected under a roof as well. So
so you build a structure out of it for the bathroom.
Exactly. So inside the container, you're fitting the kitchen, living room, and bedroom. So it's like a studio kind of apartment. But yeah, it was just kind of all came from staying in one that someone had turned into a little back house one time, and then just trying to explore that.
The design of it, did that come from your architect mate, or did you like kind of derive your inspiration from did you do a bit of research and go and visit a few and take parts from them, or you just worked it between you and your friend who was an architect?
Looked at a few and then just realized that a shipping container is really small and tight. So unless you open up a lot of it with kind of like glass and windows and sliding doors, it can be a very confined space. So kind of that had come from staying in the one I stayed in. I noticed that like it did feel pretty confined, but they had a little deck out off the front. And so I just kind of started to imagine how you could just try and extend the space a little bit without kind of losing the whole container, you know, because you could just chop out all the fucking walls and then it would be pointless. You might as well just make it out of timber. And there's probably a case somewhere in the middle there of, you know, cost nowadays, especially the cost of containers has gone up. And so I don't know. It's just, for me, I liked having that starting point of here it is, take out some bits, add some bits. This is the starting point.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do, and then worked with my buddy Dan on just doing all of the kind of like energy ratings and all the stuff that you have to do when you're actually going to get it through council to make it kind of legal. But they were just basically also, there was an Italian design group in the 80s called Memphis Milano, which was really focused on like high color, high texture, high pattern and contrast. And so they were kind of influenced by that. From the outside, they're all black to kind of like just sink into the nature around them. They're kind of just in the bush, and I didn't want them to be kind of overly visible from the outside, but then when you walk in, it's kind of like this explosion of color and texture and patterns. And
so this group you're talking about was more the influence of the furnishing, like the inside styling.
The interior design, the colors and the patterns and everything. I was pretty inspired by that. So yeah, when you go in there, the idea is that you kind of like come up to this weird little fucking, you know, steel black container in the bush. It looks a little bit ominous and maybe scary from the outside, and it's quite harsh. And then you get inside and it's a lot of like soft carpet, bright colors. The bed is kind of sunken into this custom kind of like bed that I designed and my buddy helped me build, and then we got it carpeted all around. So
Cool.
when you're in there, it's really cozy because it's also in Tasmania, so it's
You want it to be
fucking
warm.
cold. And you want it
Fireplace
to be
in there?
warm. Fireplace in there,
Cool.
and heats it up in like, you know, a couple of
Seconds,
minutes because
yeah.
it's so small
I bet.
and well insulated. But yeah, the containers have been a really fun project that I started with one,
No, you got the second.
did a second one.
Do you have them both
last year.
still? You still have them both?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Still, so they're on the same, like my house, and then the two containers are all on the same property. It's just like a 40-acre like bush kind of property.
Down in
It's
Tassie.
Down in Tassie,
Yep.
yeah. So they're all spread out.
The
so they're
Byron
not,
one, you
like,
still have that?
sold that.
Sold
yeah,
that, okay.
Got
Yep.
out of there. I was kind of did my time there. I probably did a good, I don't know, 8 years or something, which was pretty early on when I was maybe I moved there. Went from the Gold Coast, went to Sydney for like a year, and then was like, fuck this. And then had done a trip to Byron. I was with Wade Goodall and a couple of others. We did like a Waves Mag trip early on. And I was like, wow, this place is fucking pretty epic. And when I was living on the Gold Coast, we'd go down like once a year or something to Byron.
Yeah.
Wasn't that much of a thing. And then so ended up moving there and had a fucking epic time. Like it was early kind of 20s, early mid-20s, all the way through to maybe 30, like early 30s. And yeah, was fucking awesome. And then it kind of just started getting obviously busier and
A
busier.
bit too blown, yeah.
A bit too much. And then so I kind of got rid of the place there and focused more on my place in Tassie. And then now kind of, live between here and there.
Do you Airbnb out the containers? Do you live in one? No.
The containers, no, I rent the containers out, and my sister manages those for me. So she looks after kind of the place when I'm away. Dad does all the landscaping and odd jobs and stuff.
It's not permanent rental. It's holiday letting? Or?
No, holiday letting.
Okay,
and then my house is the same. When I'm away, I'll let it out, and then I'll just have it blocked out for when I want to come home.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So it's nice because I can just come and go when I am, and I know that usually when I'm home and I want to scoot down,
you've got a place.
I've got a place to stay. And
yeah, cool.
So it's nice. So yeah, had that place for probably 8 years or something now, maybe 8 to 10. I'm not actually sure, but yeah, it's a beautiful little spot. It really reminds me of kind of where we are now, and what drew me to this part of Australia was it's just like a really kind of quiet little coastal town.
Yeah.
But for me, this is like kind of the busy version.
Yeah, this is kind of a hub,
like a city compared to there. Like it's 700 people in Scamander. Like it's fucking tiny.
Wow.
Like, there's fuck all.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. I love it because you go home and you can just switch off. But then here is like there's
kind
a
of
lot
hub,
more
sort of,
going on, you know. But then this is super quiet compared to if you
the
go
next
to
hub, yeah.
fucking Sydney or
Yeah,
Wollongong or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I really love right now, like I'm this balance of going between here and down there.
Different levels of chaos, yeah.
Yeah, I love it so much. And the waves where I live are just like a lot of beach breaks and stuff. So it's nice to get other waves other than just
The
kind of
same old
beach
thing.
breaks. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Bit of variety.
there's not a lot on the east coast of Tassie. It's annoying because it's like open to swells and stuff, and it should be epic. Like if we just had reef breaks and stuff, it would be amazing because you're getting swell a lot, but it's just fucking straight beaches, and you kind of grow up getting used to surfing closeouts, and if you're lucky, there'll be a bank somewhere. But yeah, something about that coast is just a bummer. Like there's just not many options, but it's cool because it keeps you on your toes when I'm home. And if you do get a swell, you're kind of like hunting up and down and trying to find the spot. But yeah, it's a difficult spot to live for, like trying to get consistently good waves.
Yeah. So like while we're on the creative talk, like you always have, it seems you always have some sort of, I mean, from forever since I have known you and since I saw you as a younger Grom as a surfer, you always had this sort of crossbreed between the art and surf culture world. You've always never just been pure surfer from what I've seen. There's always been an element of like the artistic side. So this container's obviously been a bit of like an artistic outlet avenue for you. But there's been multiple, and the current one now is the mirrors. What's the word?
Noid. I call them noids.
Noid. I was going to say gloid.
Noid, which is just my name back to front, which I think a lot of people don't
I didn't
cotton
know
on,
that.
but it was my nickname as a kid.
Okay.
Growing up in Tassie, all my mates used to call me Noid.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed like a fitting name.
Yeah, that's cool.
For it. But yeah, that's kind of like been super fun to work on.
Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, basically, well, what it is just repurposing broken surfboards and turning them into stuff. And it came about because, similar to the position you're in at the moment, I'd had a bad surfing injury, broke my leg, my ankle, had to get surgery, plates, all that. So I was going to be out for, I don't know what it ended up being, like for 4 to 6 months or something. But I was living up in Lennox at the time with Aussie Wright, which was like a dream.
Yeah.
Can't even remember how it came about, but he has a mental property kind of back from the beach and on next, all surrounded by farmland. It's super quiet, and I just loved being there. And he had a little studio out the back, and so he was like, "Oh, do you want to rent the studio?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah!" So I ended up living on Aussie's property for like probably a year, maybe a year and a bit, and yeah, had come down the coast, broke my ankle, went back up, couldn't surf, was surrounded obviously by Aussie and his art and all his creative kind of fucking energy. And it's always kind of been one thing that I think sometimes these creative things or little like sparks take a long time to finally take light, but I'd always been wondering what you could do with broken boards, because I've broken so many fucking surfboards over the past 20 years, and it just felt so weird throwing them out. You know, like obviously some you can fix, but most you can't when they're snapped in half, especially. It's pretty hard. And so I was like, fuck, it seems like it's just like too good. Why? There's something there that you're just throwing out.
Yeah, it seems like a waste. Yeah.
Yeah, how? But I could never figure it out, or it never clicked for me. And then finally, when I was injured and I was at Aussies and he had a bunch of broken boards, I had a bunch of broken boards, and then it just was like, you know, how all kind of things happen. One day there's finally this little synapse that connect.
Everything connects, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to grab one of those and just rip all the glass off of it, take it back to the foam, and then
hack in.
And I kind of had an idea for... The initial idea came from trying to make furniture out of them. Because I was like, oh, if I take the glass off, then you've kind of got this nice, somewhat flat plane, depending on the board and what part you're working with, that you might be able to start, you know, make some legs and a tabletop. And it kind of started as like a small table. Somehow I was like, I think that'll work. And then that kind of started the experimentation process of getting these boards, stripping them back. Because once you strip the glass off a broken board, you're left with this like amazing virgin foam that's like perfectly ready to go. Usable for so like a million more things than what I've thought of. Like I think it's just, and I'm sure it's also been done before. I'm not trying to claim that it's like a fucking groundbreaking idea, but for me I was like, oh, I can finally use this. So then I just spent the next kind of like 6 months while I was out experimenting, making stuff, trying to figure out how to shape, essentially, you know, figure out what tools I needed, and then trying to learn how to work with fiberglass and resin
So
and
you're
stuff.
glassing them and sealing them and everything yourself, yeah.
Which is very like done super poorly. Like I definitely am still learning and would probably pain a lot of shapers to see early kind of work and even now. But yeah, it was more so the main focus was on the shaping and the painting, and then some of the pieces are left kind of raw, just with like a matte clear coat. But then it kind of turned into mirrors, side tables, wall hangings, was kind of the main things that I had been and have been focusing on. And just as like a little side hobby.
Yeah.
But just a way to fucking, when a mate had a broken board, I was like, hey, don't throw that out. Like, give that to me. I'll fucking take that. So right now the shed is just, it's epic. It's full of like,
I think there's a few of mine even down there.
There's some of yours. There's just like anywhere I can collect them from people. But it's just a matter of now having time when you're at home to like get stuck into it. But it's once again just like kind of becomes a meditative process. And for me, like I grew up, my mum's a painter. So I grew up with her constantly painting and being in and around kind of like creativity, and her kind of putting that onto us, my sister and me as kids. So for me, it's such a part of my kind of life is having
that creative influence around all the time as a kid.
The influence as a kid, and then now a creative outlet. Like if I don't have a creative outlet, I feel like I'm going fucking insane, you know? Like have to have something to be putting energy into and trying to work on. And you know, it's come through so many different ways, whether it's surfing and working on surf films, working with a photographer, working on a brand, you know, is like an amazing kind of creative outlet. And then same with that, shaping. But that one is so special because it's working with your hands. And, you know, I think there's such a, something so special about working with your hands and doing something physical. You know, it's just completely different to if you're doing something creative on the fucking computer or whatever.
Well,
it's not
conceptualizing and actually getting to use your physical being to create that.
And
it's
and the effort and the output to do it. I don't know. It's been a really fun thing to learn. It's obviously kind of something that I've been around my whole life with board shaping and been around this material for so long, and this material has like given me everything in my life too, which is also another really interesting kind of tie back that I really enjoy. Is like, man, this foam has been my whole life.
Giving me everything,
it's given me everything.
I like
it's known that since I was a kid, the smell of it, the feel of it, everything. It's like my life wouldn't be where it is today, or I would have been on a completely different trajectory if it wasn't for these materials. So then to now be getting to work with
repurpose it and take it all the way back and start again and be given a whole new purpose for your life. That's crazy.
A whole new life. And so it's been really fun. And I think I've only, like I said, scratched the surface of it, but it's something that I'm super excited to keep exploring.
Would you say, like, when you were a kid, you know, if say you were getting a little bit wound up or you were bored or you were over energized, or your mum could see you had an outlet, did she point you in the direction of art to be an outlet? Did she direct you to that?
It was definitely, I mean, this is also going back to, you know, phone, like phones, obviously. And I would say there was Atari and Sega and Nintendo and shit, but like we weren't really allowed to play much on computer games and stuff like that and computers. It was more, even when we grew up in Tassie, we lived on 100 acres, and like my sister had a horse and I had a motorbike, and like you would go outside and keep yourself occupied. And then when we're inside, Mum would have us, drawing or painting or whatever. We'd always have all the materials there, everything that you needed to like do that. And Mum was super encouraging with that. So it was definitely always an outlet as a kid that she made like really easy for us to do.
Very
and
accessible.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
accessible. Yeah. So
Cool.
we just ended up doing, if you're outside, you were like fucking
Going
climbing
nuts.
trees
Yeah.
or on the motorbike or the BMX or whatever. And then if you're inside, you were like drawing or
Time to
painting.
focus on something.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're kind of getting near towards the end here. I've got a couple of questions. Jamin Jameson has asked, so your output in all areas of your art is huge. What are a few tricks that you use to be so productive or stay productive?
Shit.
Mm.
See, I would kind of say that I'm not that productive and pretty easily distracted. A lot of the time I feel like these days too, it's very easy to get distracted when you're trying to focus on stuff.
Do you set like some cutoffs or some rules with your phone? Like I only get to use my phone this amount of time. Otherwise, I need to be going and doing something that's productive. Or
I mean, try and minimize that as much as I can, but like
Yeah.
it's fucking hard. They make it. It's basically like the modern day digital cigarette. Every day I think more and more about how much we're fucking addicted to it and how much I'm addicted to it, and we all are, and how fucked it is that they are just like rinsing us with the world's top fucking experts in keeping you addicted to this device.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane what we're trying to compete with that's going on in the back end to make us addicted and spend more time on that thing.
That's
So,
nuts,
I mean,
yeah.
I try to stay off it, but, definitely going and getting out in the shed is one thing. Surfing is another. But I think for me, to answer the question, is probably always having multiple things on the go.
So you don't get too caught up and stuck on one.
Yeah, don't get stuck on one, and I like to kind of do one for a bit, and
Multiple
then
outlets.
something else will click, and you want to do that in this outlet, whether it's surfing, surf film, ritual vision,
Yeah.
the Noid stuff, or whatever it is. It's kind of always a bit of a bunch of stuff going on, and that kind of keeps me pretty
Keeps you motivated because you're not just totally focused and overwhelmed by one. You've got multiple things. All right, too much of that today. I'm going to go and put my focus into the other one.
Yeah, if you do get stuck on something, which happens a lot, like you get a bit of a block and it can get frustrating and then you can get disheartened. I think if you've got something else to then move on, and then you'll come back to that other one when it kind of strikes. So I like to have multiple things to kind of move between.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Great answer.
There you go, Jameson.
Yep. That's Jamin Jameson. That's a good name, isn't it?
That's a great name.
Yep. And then, all right, to wrap it up, we got one question from our good mate Grant today.
G'day, Grant.
Grant wants to know, would you ever bring back the old school air comps? Would Ritual Vision ever host one of the old school air comps that you used to go in?
That's a good question, Grant. I've actually thought about that a couple of times because that was a really huge part of my kind of early surfing career as well, was the Quicksilver air shows that they used to do. And I just thought that was so fucking epic. And they were epic at the time. They felt like this real kind of counterculture movement. You had Dave Nelson, fucking Matt Hoy was kind of running, I guess, like commentating and shit for Quicksilver at them, where I wasn't in the comp, but like it was just this eccentric group of characters, and to me Dave was kind of like the godfather of that series, and he kind of took the father role too. He did look after a lot of the fucking groms that were coming through. It was like myself, Goodall, Andrew Mooney. They're kind of like the three off the top of my head that were kind of like the youngest probably crew on it. And Dave really did look out for us and was like, a fucking wild man and stuff. Everyone kind of, the older crew were, but he always really, made sure we were all good. And I just remember him being so fucking thoughtful. And so it was this really small kind of tight-knit community of like these eccentric, crazy fucking air dudes, and it was such a cool thing to be a part of. And so for me, it felt really counterculture to the competitive surfing that I knew. And there was some amazing shit going on at the time, like progressive air surfing during those events, even though still to this day, I don't know how the fuck they pulled it off. Like, I remember we had an event one time at Cottesloe Beach in Perth, which is like, I'm pretty sure it's flat for 350 days of the year, or fucking not very often they get swell. And they would lock the tour was locked in at the start of the year. So, Cottesloe Beach would be whatever it was, 15th of March and the 16th of March. And then you just had to go there. Like, it could have easily been an inch.
Wow.
And we got waves, the one we did there, and it was like fun, and people were doing airs and shit. So Piha in New Zealand was one that we did a bunch of times, and that picks up a lot of swell. So the opposite, that could have been fucking huge. So they were really, how they made
risky.
It work. Yeah, it was pretty risky, but they pulled it off. So to answer the question, yeah, I reckon it would be sick to bring that back or something like that. Like, they were fucking amazing. And they would also have parties around the events, like they'd have bands playing and shit like that. So it felt like a real kind of just like a bit of a week.
Yeah.
It was always held over a weekend, kind of a 2-day thing, maybe a trials and then the final.
And just, button in real quick, like everything you've just explained, this kind of eccentric group of characters, the parties, the lifestyle around it, the kind of, especially the eccentric characters and the lunatics that were running these things and somehow pulling it off. I mean, right now, after what we've spoken about, that's kind of you almost repeating back to me your team of riders. You've got the Noz, you've got the Harrys, you've got the Hueys, you've got some very eccentric characters, some of the biggest characters in surfing right there. So
yeah. It's definitely probably inspired by that crew and that kind of like, to me, yeah, surfing is these eccentric characters and their kind of personalities and showcasing that, from the Aussies to the Dave Nelsons to the Margos to the Rastas to the Andys, whoever, like they're all really unique people, and you got to see that through surfing and the films and stuff. So, definitely when it comes to ritual, everyone has such a kind of unique personality, and kind of that's the goal, is to be able to help showcase that, and also for the younger generation to know that competitive surfing isn't the only kind of option. So yeah, those air comps were an amazing avenue for people like Wade and myself and other kids that, gives them something else other than just a fucking regular surf comp.
Yeah.
So I think surfing is about individuals and their personalities, and it's a counterculture fucking sport, and I don't think it needs to be put into this fucking geeky ass box that it kind of sometimes gets pushed into. So yeah, everyone just does it because they love surfing, and yeah, I think it's pretty unique.
So Grant, yes, maybe in the future,
maybe
Ritual
Grant,
Vision Air Comp.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year, the Ritual Vision Air Comp is on.
So,
well, D, I'd just like to thank you for, I guess, capturing that essence of surfing and preserving what the core atmosphere around surfing is, what was seeming to be potentially going into extinction, and grabbing that and then just bringing that straight back to the forefront of the surfing world and creating Ritual Vision and recreating what was seemingly lost. So well done. Hats off to you for that.
Thank you.
And everything else, thank you for coming in, sitting with me, having a beer, having a chat. I know you've been busy. You got a lot on. When's the movie release?
The movie comes out next Thursday. So
live for everyone, YouTube. Everyone can watch it from Thursday on.
From Thursday on. Thursday, the 11th of June. It comes online. I'm not sure when this podcast will come out, but today is Thursday as well. So I've got a
Yep,
week.
so it'll be the following Wednesday, but
This is
it'll
the
be online. So now, people, this is the reminder that if you haven't yet watched, it is live.
It is now live.
Future
Get on
talking
future people.
future people. Now, the people who are in our future, watch the movie. Anyway,
Go
watch
on
the
YouTube.
damn movie on YouTube.
Yeah. So
Ritualistic Tendencies.
Ritualistic Tendencies. It'll be on YouTube. It's a hour-long surf extravaganza of high performance surfing and some fucking mind melting music. So hopefully it just makes you absolutely fucking psyched to go surf.
Yeah. And D, bruv, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here. And yeah, really appreciate it. And hopefully I can share a surf with you again soon.
Fuck yeah. All right. Thank you. Still noise.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.